Welcome to the Northern Business Podcast, our regular discussion with people who really matter in the North, people who lead businesses, employ people and are growing our economy. We're sponsored by Virtue Motors, one of the top automotive dealerships in the UK with different brands and a network of dealers around the country. I'm Graham Robb and today we're here at Connected North. We're at Manchester Central. It's the largest digital and connectivity conference in the North and there's more than 2,500 people in attendance. Throughout the day, I'll be talking to regional innovators, tech companies, service providers, all of whom have come together to explore new ways of driving connectivity and technology and innovation across the North. Let's go inside and see what it's all about. Well, the first interview of our series here at Connected North is with Rob Chambers of Total Telecom. And Total Telecom are the main sponsor, the organiser of Connected North. Rob, tell us about Total Telecom.
Hello, Graham. So Total Telecom originally is a publishing house. We're still a publishing house and we publish for the telecom sector. Telecoms has obviously evolved in many years now, and it's far broader than it ever used to be, and we're not just talking about telecom kit anymore, we're talking really about digital economy. And that's really what we're talking about here with Connected North. Connected North is the dedicated digital economy event for this region. And it was born out of its larger sibling, Connected Britain, which we run each September at Excel. And it's now growing into an event with its own identity. We have some great partnerships here with the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, the Liverpool Combined Authority, and all the various bodies representing this region. And so we're seeing it grow out and gain a life of its own.
When it comes to rebalancing the economy, north and south, levelling up, northern powerhouse, whatever cliche the politicians decide to use, they are talking about greater opportunity for the north of England compared to the economic power of the southeast of England. Do you think, and do you agree with me, that digital connectivity is even more important than physical connectivity?
I'm not sure if I'd necessarily go as far as to say it's more important, but it's certainly as important. The ability of digital connectivity to change people's lives is phenomenal. The ability to let people improve their education, how they entertain themselves, benefit from things like new forms of medicine, and of course the digital skills side of things to encompass new jobs is huge. And I think this region is particularly seeing that. We were running yesterday the first data center summit, and that's really centered on the whole fact that this region wants to see growth in that. It wants to see growth in the job sector that will come from AI, and all of that's around digital connectivity. So for that sense, it's hugely important.
And we're seeing in the north of England huge clusters of businesses that rely on the connectivity provided by many of the people taking part in this event. You've got in Leeds and in Newcastle, financial services industries now. You've got in Teesside, the gaming industry, a massive employer, big business like Double 11. This connectivity can only be delivered by partners that are here at this event.
Yes, I think partnerships are hugely important. And I think that, if you like, it's actually the ethos behind all of our connected events. You look really at regions where there's the economic, the political, and the commercial will to make things happen. And I think you really feel that in this event here and in the north of England. There is a real desire to capitalize on entrepreneurship, and actually so just on the people you see here, the friendly, connected people, if you like. It's a very friendly event, and that's really going to help drive forward those partnerships.
Well, the event started with speeches and panels from the regulator, Ofcom, and by some of the tier one companies, the Openreaches, City Fibre, Fibrous, that are there to set up the networks and communicate with the customer. But there is a huge supply chain of businesses, and they are, it appears, represented here.
Yes, yeah. The supply chain in the the tech industry in the widest sense is huge. If you think about it, you're talking about everyone from the people who make the fiber optic cables all the way through to the people that make the various types of technology for in-building connectivity, Wi-Fi and 5G and all of these kind of things. All of those kind of companies are here. And then we're starting to see more and more representation from the companies that perhaps rely on connectivity. We have someone over there called AbilityNet, for example, who does sort of disability access. And then we're starting to see the other kinds of parts of the supply chain. There's some huge solar panels over there, for example, which is someone providing mobile power supplies for this industry. The supply chain's fascinating. And don't forget the startups, of course, just over my shoulder there, who are really, really innovative companies.
Well, look, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to get the camera and I'm going to walk around and meet some of those supply chain exhibitors and participants. In the meantime, Rob, thank you for inviting us to Connected North, and I hope it goes really well.
Do have a wander around. We'd love to see you all talking to people.
Connell Henry from Fibrous, you are a challenger when it comes to laying the fibre to communities around the country. Tell us a little bit about the business. What is the business and how far does it reach?
Yeah, so Fibrous is about building broadband, full fibre broadband infrastructure in rural and regional areas. At the moment, we're building to about 550,000 homes across Northern Ireland and Cumbria. We've already got 400,000 of that done, and we have 110,000 customers in those areas. We focus exclusively on rural and regional. So in Northern Ireland, we're not in Belfast, we're not in Derry, we're everywhere else. In Cumbria, we're not in Barrow, we're not in Carlisle, we're everywhere else.
Right.
We operate a brand, so Fibrous is a big brand. We sponsor Workington Rugby Club, it's the Fibrous Community Stadium, to really drive adoption of full fibre broadband in rural and regional areas, which are the areas that need it most.
Now, the businesses that watch this podcast tend to be in the north of England, Northern Business Podcast, and generally they'll get their fibre from BT Openreach or maybe City Fibre. Yeah, challenging that dominance is very important. That there needs to be competition. How do you think it can come about more effectively?
So what's driven the delivery of fibre broadband has been competition. I mean, the way we always talk about it is BT's the canal company and fibre is railways. So if you ask the canal company to build railways, they go, yeah, we'll get to it. And there would be no railways built. So the only way the railways were going to get built was by railway companies. We're a railway company, BT's a canal company. So BT are now building canals because railways are being built by somebody else, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to stretch the metaphor any further, but you need competition to drive investment both by the new entrants, but also by BT. So what we find in Northern Ireland and in Cumbria is that BT have responded to our investment with a deepened and increased investment in their own fibre. And that's great for consumers. It gives them choice. It makes the market much, much more alive.
No, there's a big project co-funded or subsidised by the government, Project Gigabit.
Yep.
And you made a good point on the stage that maybe regulators have to look at the different capital that's available for smaller companies like yourself and big companies like Openreach. And maybe I got the sense that you were saying maybe they should just give it a bit, put their thumb on the scale a bit.
So the regulator's job is to deliver policy. What is policy? It's to deliver full fibre broadband to everybody in the state, okay? Everybody in the state includes rural and regional areas. Policy has, some of the regulatory decisions have driven the outcome in the opposite direction. So what the regulators decided to do with how it prices BT's poles and holes product is anti-rural. It's 20 times more expensive in rural areas as it is in urban areas. That's a decision the regulators made, not BT, and it should make a different decision. It's done the same with the wholesale market that City Fibre trades in. It's made that very, very difficult for operators to build a wholesale network at scale and economically because of the pricing that has been set in the wholesale market by the regulator. And I said on the stage that to an extent the regulator operates a little bit like the Oxford Union, listening to the quality of debate as opposed to what's the policy outcome that's going to happen here. And it needs to think about policy outcomes more deeply.
One last question. In this this event, the Connected North event, there's lots of people in the supply chain. How do you evaluate who you work with? Is the fact that they may be adding value along the supply chain by local jobs important when you're contracting supplies?
Very much so. We with our contracting base, particularly on the build side of things, we very much use local workforce. What we've actually done is created our own entity in Northern Ireland. We set up a company called Fibre Optics, and we expanded that company to Cumbria, and we set up a training and development program in Cumbria where we take trainees and we give them qualifications, and we have a total of 900 staff working directly for Fibres and a supply chain that we try and make sure that supports the local economies in which we now exist.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going around the exhibitors at Connected North, and let's see if we can take the supply chain through a logical process. I first come to AutoGen AI. They give me a nice flash book and a pen. Mahmood, when it comes to the early stage of the supply chain, it's about pitching, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Tell us what your product does.
Yeah, absolutely. So we provide software that helps organizations win more work through harnessing the power of large language models. So we're actually building bespoke language engines for every customer. And each engine that we build is effectively trained on their tone of voice and their corporate corpus. And it's ultimately helping them generate winning responses.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So is it an expensive product? Is it software as a service, or is it used once?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's a SaaS solution, but we actually work with a host of different organizations across verticals. So we do lots of work with charities and SMEs, but we also work with leading suppliers to the UK government. So any organization that has some sort of work winning function will see a lot of value in the software.
And what kind of, I've got to be tough on this, what kind of prices are you doing? Because it is important, if you're not doing many bids, and would it be worth having it for a service?
Yeah, so the pricing commercial model does range depending on the size of the organization.
Right.
But what I would do is actually take it a step back. So when I think about a business case as to justify the investment, it's really focused around two key areas. So AutoGen helps organizations win more business around 20 to 30% increase in win rates, and also anything up to an 8 times increase in productivity. So you think about if you're bidding for hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of business, and even just a slight uptick in your win rates effectively pays for the software itself.
Well, that's fantastic. All the best.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Okay, we're looking at the supply chain at Connected North now, having talked to some of the major providers of cable services. How do they get the cables laid? Dave Mountain is from Cable and Things. Come on, what is this?
Instead of a handshake, we're doing this, are we going?
It's a tug of war, but this isn't high tech.
Nah, it's that simple, isn't it?
Yeah. Why? Why do you make and sell rope?
So look, our business name is called Cable and Things. We sell cable and things. So anything you need to build a fiber optic network, we do. And rope. You've probably never seen it. You never think it's an important thing. Millions of meters of this is used every year to build your fiber network. So if you've got a cable, you want to put it underground, the engineers will tie this rope to the cable and they'll pull it through the ducts. So when you're on the streets in the future, have a look, you'll see some engineers using it.
And you supply all sorts of peripheral things involved in the supply of cable laying. Tell us the kind of products you are selling.
So look, we built the business around cable, so that's why it's called Cable and Things. So we've done about 12 million meters of cable today in the UK. You need joint closures and distribution boxes to be able to distribute a larger cable to make it a smaller cable across the UK. You'd have a large cable that goes from the middle of a city to a smaller cable that goes to someone's home. So joint closures and things like that help you to make it smaller, basically. And then accessories, consumables, anything you need to tie the cable to chambers, all these things you've probably never heard of, we sell.
And is business good?
Business is good.
Great. Well, thanks for talking to us on the Northern Business Podcast.
Thank you, Graham. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, we're in the shadow of a bit of kit, which demonstrates the ability of Hutchinson. And I've got the CEO, Dean Drinkwater. So what is the bit of kit you've brought to show off your engineering prowess?
This is a structure we design. It's used by a couple of the mobile networks here in the UK. So it's a full 5G mast. So this will be deployed typically in urban areas. Street work structures is what it's classed as. So that would give coverage to people in houses and businesses where there's a dense amount of population. So less amount in your greenfield, middle of nowhere, more where there's connectivity required.
So for people listening rather than watching this 5G mast is actually sight in streetscapes, isn't it? It's everywhere.
Yeah.
But we're seeing it up close, and when you see it up close rather than from the pavement, it's quite a sophisticated bit of metalworking.
It is.
Is each one bespoke?
They're designed specifically by us, specifically for a network or for a network's particular need or requirement. for usually a project that they have. So over the last few years, we've gone from 3G to 4G and then 5G. And 5G was the big change because going back in the day when I first started in telecoms, if you look at these cables, there was 6 cables in a whole pole.
Yeah.
Now there's 48 plus fiber plus DC power, so it's far, far more complicated.
Absolutely. And this is a sort of metal box that we'd see on the street again.
Yeah.
Very familiar. And it's got a lot of weatherproof type cables, even though they're in a box.
Got to be secure and got to be safe. So yeah, it's got to make sure it works. Designed again by us, designed so that we can upgrade it, because that's the big thing now, to make sure we can add more kit as technologies change. Because that's been a big challenge for telecoms, is that technology is continuously evolving. The amount of traffic on the networks is continuously increasing. So trying to adapt and trying to cope with those changes is a real challenge, and that's why we've designed this that looks quite complicated, but it's actually designed to be upgraded and changed really easily on site.
Now, you talked about design a lot, but let's get to the real nitty gritty. You're a manufacturer.
Yeah.
You're in Widnes.
We are.
In the northwest.
Yeah.
And this is manufactured out of steel. Where do you get your steel?
British steel, obviously.
British steel,
Yes,
right.
of
So here
course.
we are. You are part of the solution, not the problem.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
What kind of turnover have you got now then?
So this year we'll do about 28, 29 million turnover. But more importantly than turnover for us is the amount of people we employ.
Yeah.
So we're just getting towards 180 staff now.
Fantastic.
So yeah,
But
180
right
jobs.
in that sweet spot of the kind of growth SME the North needs,
Definitely.
owner managed.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you the best of success in this supply chain and the other supply chains you're working in. Dean, thanks for talking to me.
No problem. Thank you very much for your time.
We're following through the supply chain of connectivity in the north of England. We've seen people who make the cables, we've seen people who make the boxes the cables go in, but what about fitting the cables and the men and women who are on the roads, literally digging holes, laying cables, maybe going up masts to attach cables to telecoms masts? Martin Whitehead is with Kelling Group. Tell us what you supply.
Yeah, so we are the UK's largest provider of van-mounted access platforms and specialist vehicles for hire and lease. We also have a sister company called Welfare Hire, and they do mobile towable, eco-friendly welfare units and welfare vans and tower lights.
And you're a great northern company. It's the Northern Business Podcast. Where are you based?
Yeah, we're based out of Whitfield. That's our head office with a purpose-built facility there. But we've got national coverage to support all customers across the UK.
Let's have a look at this bit of kit here. Now, this van presumably came to you raw. You've done all the insides.
Yeah, so this was designed with one of our telecoms customers in mind and in partnership. So the chassis of the vehicle we purchase, and that's optional in terms of a chassis, and then we complete the full fit out internally as a bespoke fit out for the spec that the customer needs.
And they use this for splicing cables, do they?
Yeah, so this is one of the splicing vans. It's a dedicated splicing van. So, as I say, designed with a particular telecoms customer in mind. So it's got the full welfare facility to keep the productivity high, so they don't have to leave site to use the toilet, they don't have to leave site to use a microwave, etc. And it's got all the gear inside that the guys would need to complete the splicing on the projects.
And there's another van here which is different in that it's got a lifting cage at the back.
Yes.
So what's this?
So this is one of our van-mounted access platforms. We've got a fleet of over 1,800 of these available to hire and to lease. And effectively, this is what the telecoms engineers would use to get up to the poles or to install on a house, on a house build, etc. Yeah, and it's what they use.
It's pretty good. And look, these cherry pickers, call them what you will. This is actually on a van, so it's maybe not quite. It's a more sophisticated operation, but you need to be trained, don't you? How do you get training to operate one of these?
Yeah, so you need an IPAF qualification, and we can offer that as part of our service. So we're fully accredited IPAF training centre up in Wakefield. So we can get any engineers or anything that need that training, we can provide that for them and give them the qualification. We can also come out to site and do it on site.
Excellent. And if anything goes wrong with the van?
Yeah, so you've got full support from our in-house operational support team, 24/7, 365 days of the year, available for breakdown and recovery, any technical issues or questions, and also there's replacement vehicles should anything go wrong.
I suppose this all proves that it might be a conference about digital sector, but this isn't digital in its itself, this is a very analog. It's very important that this gets involved.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it's the fibre build has been accelerating for quite some years now, and we've seen that demand for the guys to be able to get up height, do something quickly, and get the job done. And this ticks all the boxes.
Martin, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Connected North is very much representing startup businesses, as well as a whole section here for startup businesses. Here's one, Big Bite, 3 people who organize a business together. 3 years?
3 years.
Dominic, tell us how you started it.
So we've been working together as a team for 8 years plus, really. And one day we decided to escape and do it ourselves because we think we could do a better job.
Excellent.
And so far, so good.
Now, you're in consultancy. I run a PR consultancy. It's the same thing. It's just different skills. And it's a nightmare to run consultancies. Do you all agree? Do you all get on?
Oh, we do, yeah. I think it's important we get on, yeah. You've got to be able to get on with the people you work with, definitely.
What do you consult in?
Everything: software, security, logistics, there's national security. There's loads of different sectors that we've consulted in. So
Give us the type of company that you've acted for.
So everything from pre-revenue startups, we've done fractional CTO work, to big enterprises that need like all of their software revisiting and improving. So everything that you can imagine, we can work with.
And you're very open about your prices when you see customers. Do you tell them up front what it's going to cost?
Of course we do.
yeah.
Excellent. Well, look, the very best of luck to you. A great startup, Big Bite, that's what it's called, Big Bite. If you need some advice on all this tech stuff that bamboozles entrepreneurs on a regular basis and never stops, call Big Bite. It's been a great pleasure for the Northern Business Podcast to visit the Connected North event in Manchester this week. What have we learned? Well, we've learned that there are billions of pounds being invested in laying cables for advanced fibre optic, the Gigabyte campaign to get giga connectivity to all communities. We've also learned that there are increased investments in mobile digital technology, but more importantly, that all these investments are filtering down to many, many companies, whether they be small one-man startups, whether they be companies that can help you in your bidding process, or companies that are selling the peripherals that go along with laying cable, the cable itself, the ropes that drag the cable through the tunnels, or the supply chain that supplies the vans that look after the men and women that are building this infrastructure. It's a huge ecosystem of connectivity, and we've really learned a lot coming here today. It's been a great pleasure. Join us again next time on the Northern Business Podcast when we'll be back in our studio.